All right, what's going on, guys? It's Fast Cars, Fast Money, and we're back. It's another NASCAR DFS weekend, and we got two different racetracks for you guys. We got Mid Ohio, and then we got Sonoma for the Cup Series. But this video specifically, we're going to be looking at the Xfinity Series over at Mid Ohio. And as always, it's myself, and then I got Coop and Rich with me today. What's going on, guys?
What's up, everyone?
Hey,
All right, so we're going to be breaking down kind of our initial thoughts. If any of our thoughts change, we're going to be adding that to the spreadsheet, which you can get on Twitter. It's at FastCarsFM. You can also ask up lineup questions over there, or you could just drop them down in the comments below. We'll make sure we get back to you before the slate locks. But before we look at some of the individual drivers, here's kind of some of our initial thoughts. So if you look at this race, it's only 75 laps, and there's really only three ways for NASCAR, DFS drivers to score points, either by their finishing position, their place differential, or the Dominator points, which are available. And Dominator points are awarded out every time they clock off a lap. So there's really not that many Dominator points available, just because this race is only 75 laps. So therefore, we're putting more of an emphasis and a focus on who are guys who can finish in the top 10, or who are guys who start really deep in the field who can get you maybe 15, 20 plus points from place differential standpoint. So that's kind of our focus. But with that being said, like if a guy starts up front, like don't be afraid to play him. Like for example, Austin Cindric starts on the pole. Like we still think he's going to be a good play, even though he doesn't have the place differential points baked in. He should be able to still score well with his finishing potential. But if you can find a driver who has both the place differential and the finishing potential, I think that's really going to be the way to go. But let's get into some of these individual drivers. I guess we'll start with you, Rich, from Cindric down to Hemrick. If you're paying up for some of these guys, are you targeting some more than others?
Yeah, I think in this high price range, the chalk pairing is probably going to be Cindric and Allmendinger, just because they're the best two at the road courses, and Allmendinger gives you some place differential points. But if you're looking to be a little bit more GPP or fade the chalk, the next two guys I really like are Ty Gibbs and Daniel Hemrick. Ty Gibbs has won on a road course already this year back at Daytona, and then forget who was in this car at Coda, but this car won as well at that race. So Gibbs is definitely a solid GPP play, and he should come in lower owned considering his price right underneath Allmendinger and Cindric. And then Hemrick, starting 11th, he offers some good PD upside, and he's been running really well all year, so I have no problems playing him either.
yeah, I agree with Rich. The clear cash plays here, Cindric and Allmendinger. The GPP plays, I like Ty Gibbs and Hemrick myself as well. Gragson's not a bad play either, and I don't think he'll be high owned, but I just prefer Hemrick to Gragson in this particular week at the road course. He showed a lot of speed at the last road course, and I think he can turn in another good finish this week.
Yeah, for me, I think my main focus is going to be around AJ Allmendinger, just because there's limited opportunities to score points, and he offers you, two avenues to get points. Has some place differential baked in, and his finishing potential should be high. And there's a good chance maybe he could get out front and earn a handful of Dominator points as well. I think Cindric probably should be up front the entire race, but if something does go wrong with him, or if he has an issue or a penalty on pit road or something, it might hurt his day. And I know he's going to be really high owned, but I don't really think you can go wrong with either of them. And then if you get to Allgaier down to Haley, I think the two guys that I'm really high on, and I think everyone's going to be high on too, just based off where they're starting, are going to be Josh Berry and Miguel Paludo there. Barry's going to be in the 31 Jordan Anderson car, so it's cool to see him continue to get rides after kind of having a part-time schedule. Starting 31st, he should easily move forward in the field and get you a ton of place differential points. And then very similar with Miguel Paludo there in the 8 car that usually Josh Berry's in. We've seen these junior motorsports cars run well, and he's a good road course driver, basically, starting towards the bottom fourth of the field. And he should easily be able to move forward. But I don't mind some of the other guys in here for GPP plays, though.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the top two plays in this range are obviously Barry and Paluto, just based off the place differential points they give you. But if you do want to go GPP, I don't mind Justin Allgaier. He starts fifth. He's pretty decent road course racer, and the junior motorsports cars have had speed all year. So I have no problems playing Allgaier. He wouldn't be one of my first choices, but if like you get down, you pick a couple of the value plays, and you get back up here and end up with $9,900, I would not be against playing him to fade the place differential, chalk and Barry and Paluto.
Yeah, I think Allgaier is a great GPP play. If you pair him with somebody like Allmendinger or even Gibbs or something like that, I think he's really going to be low owned, and he gives you a lot of salary relief over the other guys that are starting a little, or that are priced up a little more than he is. So I like Allgaier as a play this week. And I like Paluto too, but I prefer Barry over Paluto. I think I'm going to have a lot of Josh Barry this week.
All right, so once we get down to the 8K range, you got Andy Lally down to Brett Moffitt there. I think for me, the clear choice is going to be Lally, just because, again, I really want to just focus on place differential and finishing potential. And he's in the R Motorsports, equipment, the same equipment that Brett Moffitt's in. And he starts 27th. So he has a good amount of upside to offer. And we've seen Lally run really, really well on these road course races. Jones, Burton, Annette, Moffitt, like they're all okay. I think they're all going to be relatively lower owned. But for me, I don't mind eating some of the chalkier plays just because of almost the guaranteed points that Lally's going to offer you.
Yeah, I agree. I think the two best plays are definitely the R Motorsports cars in this range, and that's Lally and Brett Moffitt. Moffitt's probably going to come in, I would say, a little under owned just because of the place differential plays that are around him. But he's a solid road course racer, and he should have no problem moving up and gaining a few spots. Do you like anybody else besides Lally or Moffitt in this range, Coop?
No, but I really like Moffitt. I think even in this 7 to 8K range, I think he might be my highest driver out of all of them. I'd rather have Moffitt over Pardis, even though Pardis has more place differential potential. And I like Moffitt slightly better than Sieg in the tier below as well. I'm not as high on Lally, but I'm really high on Moffitt this week. And for $8,100 starting 18th and potential to get you a top 10, I just think it's worth every penny that you're paying for him. So I like Moffitt a lot. If you end up in that 7 to 8K range, he's the one I would be targeting.
Yeah, and then if you get down to the 7K guys, again, like I'm really just hammering these road course racers who start deep in the field. And Preston Pardis is another, prime example of that. He's really cheap at $7,900. He basically starts dead last. I think there's one guy who starts further back than him, but he should easily be able to move forward anytime a car wrecks out or has an issue. He's just going to continue to gain one spot. And he's in the DGM, the 90 car, the same equipment that Alex LeVay is in and Josh Williams is in. So it's not great equipment, but in a road course, it kind of comes down to more driver skill. And Preston Pardis is a good road course racer. So I love Preston Pardis in this range. I don't mind some of these other plays, but I think it's worth paying up an extra 100, 200, even $400 to get up to Pardis. But what about you, Rich? Are you high on anyone else besides Pardis here?
No, I think Pardis is definitely the play in this range. And going back to what Cooper said about Moffitt, Moffitt is a great play just based off of ownership, because Pardis is $200 cheaper and starts 39th. He's going to garner a hell of a lot more ownership than Moffitt is. So paying the extra $200 for a guy that has a better finishing potential isn't a bad idea. But in this range, it's definitely Pardis, and then probably Sieg as well. Sieg's actually been running pretty well all year, and he should find his way up inside the top 15, top 18 by the end of the race.
I agree. I like Sieg a lot as well this week. He's starting further back than he normally does, and normally he's turning in pretty good races. He's been flirting with top 10s, and he's been getting top 15s regularly. And I like Sieg a lot in this range too. I have no problem with Sieg, Pardis, and Moffitt as the three drivers I would target in the 7 to 8K range.
Yeah, and then once you get down here, it might be a little risky, but I don't mind Chris Wright there. at $6,200, starting 33rd. Yes, he hasn't been very good, this year. It's been a lot of wrecks, a lot of accidents or penalties, a lot of bad finishes. It hasn't worked out, but I'm hoping that maybe that's going to lower his ownership. And he's in the 26 car, which we know is decent equipment. And if you look at his background, he kind of comes from more of an open wheel, road course style of tracks that he's used to running. So I think I don't mind him just because of how deep he starts in the field and the equipment that he has compared to the equipment and the other guys around him. I feel more confident in that equipment alone. It is probably a little bit of a risky play just because he hasn't really put together a one solid race this year. But maybe that lowers his ownership. So I'm going to be hammering a lot of Chris Wright this week.
Yeah, in this range, I think I'd probably like Josh Williams just a little bit more. I don't think he qualified last week. Had a bad qualifying run, but starting 24th, he offers a few PD points. And yeah, Chris Wright is a good play. This 26 car is a top 20 car every time they enter in a race. So if with Chris Wright's bad runs that he's had, it could lower his ownership, and that could end up being a good play.
Yeah, I agree. I like Josh Williams this week as well. I think he can turn in the top 15 as well, and I think that he can pay off that price tag pretty easily. I do like Chris Wright too. I think I would personally slide down to Bailey Curry and probably play Bailey Curry over Chris Wright just because there's a little extra PD there. And then sliding all the way down, I have interest in Galding and Star as well. If you're going really low and looking for a punt that's just going to be a pure attrition play, those would be the two I would choose. And then I'll go up and I'll say something else that maybe I shouldn't, but Jeremy Clements has been putting together a couple really good races, and as a really GPP play, I think Jeremy Clements, if he can somehow stay around that top 10, around 8th, I think he could pay off the $6,600. So that would be a GPP, potential option for you.
Yeah, there are a lot of punts down here that I think makes sense, right? Like, especially if you're paying up and you're trying to get maybe both a Cindric and an Allmendinger or a Ty Gibbs or an Allgaier. Like, if you're paying up, you got to pay down. But I don't mind a lot of these plays down here, like Coop said, just based off of pure attrition play or, the amount of PD that they have available, like Curry, Weatherman, Galding, Starr, Joe Graff Jr., even, Howard, like any of these guys, I feel like could work out for you if the right circumstances kind of fall their way. But even if they don't, they start so far back in the field that it's not going to kill your line. Where as if you start maybe like Cody Ware, for example, who's really cheap and he starts 21st, if he finishes 30th, that's not going to do you any good. But if Gray Galding, who starts 40th, finishes 30th, that's going to be a pretty good day for you. And it just gives you that additional salary relief to really target those top plays. So I don't really think you can go wrong with any of these guys we have high interest on down here. But do you have any good feelings, I guess, Rich, about some of these punt plays more than others?
Under 6K, Bailey Curry is probably the best play, just because I feel like he's in one of the better cars in this range. And then one guy that we actually have lower interest on that I don't mind is Tommy Joe Martins. He's been running pretty well this year. He ran well last week. I think he actually made the optimal lineup for DraftKings last week. And then one more guy, Joe Graff Jr. in the SS Greenlight 07 car. Starting 37th, he does, like Andrew said, he doesn't really have to do much to pay off the price tag, and he's cheap enough that he allows you to get back up there and get Allmendinger and get Cindric and maybe get one of the other high-priced place differential guys like a Paludo or Barry. But besides that, it's really on who do you think can stay out of trouble and move up a few spots to not kill your line.
Yeah. So I think that's going to do it for the Xfinity video. Finally kind of back to normal with knowing the starting order, midweek instead of a couple hours before the race. So we're able to spend a little bit more time on this video, analyzing some of the individual drivers here. But thank you guys as always, and we'll catch you on the Cup video.